Months ago I was contacted by Nabi of the Wet n Wise pen company, and he asked me if he could make me something, and I said yes, that would be great. So he made me these pens, and Nabi is someone with his company who does not just make pens, he kind of makes base model pens, and you can customize them as you see fit. So if you want them to be a bit longer or a bit wider or whatever, then he can customize, as I understand it, almost everything, and that also includes materials. Guess which out of these two is my favorite. Having said that, well, I don't know why I said having said that. Having said that, it took me a couple months to get to review these pens because of the pandemic. It took a while for them to get to me. It's nobody's fault, it's just the way it was. Since then, what I see on his website is that this particular model now has a number 8 nib, gold or titanium. These still have a number 6 nib in steel. So take that into account as you listen to this review. And I'm going to cover the parts of the pen. I'll do a writing sample. I'll tell you what I like about it and what I don't like about it. Let's get started. Okay, Wet n Wise pens came with this card from Nabi. Let's have a look at the particular pens in question. So came in this very cute fake leather box, and there's a couple of things included which I think is quite nice. Also, I kind of like the way this box was set up. Comes with shavings, which is cute, right? Pens turned from a solid rod. Comes with this little I don't know what to describe. I seem to struggle with words today, but this little label-like thing, and comes with a little polishing cloth, which is tiny but very cute, and I don't know how well the camera picks it up, but it's a very, very light pink, which is really quite cute. Now, we have two pens that Nabi sent me, and there is actually a reason that he sent me two pens, because it's the same model. His idea was that I picked the red, which is very sparkly, as you can see. That was my choice. This is called Glamour Ruby. The other is called Aura Olive. Nabi's idea, he explained in his letter to me, was he doesn't want to be judged on the material, but on the craftsmanship of the pen. So I picked this, he made the pen for me, but then he also made this material, just so that you could see the pens in different materials. Right? Because you're not buying a material, you're buying a pen. Anyway, I hope that makes sense to you. Now, as I said, I want to point out again, when I just checked his website, I saw that this model, the Charango, now comes with a number 8 nib, much bigger, ebonite feed, gold or steel, which is 18K gold actually. These still have a steel nib. Bear that in mind, especially when we are talking about pricing later. The pens are machined in-house, and I think the most important aspect of these pens is that Nabi is trying to go for a bespoke experience. So if you say, I would like this, but I would like to see this or that changed, you can discuss that with him, and you can figure that out, right? So if you, I would assume, wanted a bit longer, wanted a bit wider, these kinds of things, then you can have that discussion with him. There's all kinds of materials available. As you can see, these are two very different materials. I will say this is very sparkly, and I do like it. I do like the red with the sparkles. It looks very neat. Now, let's talk about the parts of the pen. Because I have this one inked up right now, they both write, they both work well. This has a double broad steel nib. This has a 1.1 a stub nib, sorry. They're Bock nibs. Let's go over the parts of the pen. So we have here same material on the entire cap, right? We have the cap, which bulges in the middle slightly, tapers down a little bit, and we have this barrel which tapers down ever so slightly. This material has a very interesting feel. There is a bit of a texture to it, whereas this one is completely smooth and well polished. I'm not saying this is not well polished, but there is a type of texture to it, which is very interesting. I didn't expect that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm just saying it's a thing. Okay, here at the end we have this barrel, right? Again, same material. Matching section, which in my mind is always bonus points. I like when the section matches. A bit of a step down there, then we have threads here, and we have a section that tapers down, flares out a little bit, and then we have that, in this case still, remember, number 6 B.R.E nib, plastic feed, filled through a converter that is supplied, and you can also use cartridges, and you can eyedropper it because it's a solid barrel. You would need some grease on the threads. There is no O-ring or anything. Pen size, quite nice. There's no clip. The pen does post. I'm not sure I would use this posted. I find this a very comfortable size to use unposted, but that's pretty much it. I think I forgot to show you this right next to a Pilot Metropolitan, so let me do that now. The Charango model is this size. Now let's see how it writes. We have the Wet and Wise Charango. This is the 1.1 millimeter stub, and the ink is Lavant Blue. I find this a very pleasant nib, out of the box, cleaned as one does, and inked up, started up straight away. Stubs are always fun because they add a certain character to your handwriting that a lot of people seem to enjoy. They're not necessarily the best for very fast writing, just because of their shape. But as you can see, it keeps up very nicely with ink demand. Speaking of which, pretty wet writer, very nice. Now, because it's a stub, there is natural line variation, right? It's not a flex nib, but as you can see, you could very carefully squeeze out some more line variation, and I think it does a very nice job of that. Reverse writing, typically fairly disastrous. It's a stub nib, so it's not really round, right? It's not a round tipping. So I wouldn't really use it for this. But it does have that very nice calligraphic effect, which is really neat. Now let's see what I like and what I don't like about this pen. Let's continue our conversation about the Wet n Wise Charango pens. So what do I like about it? What do I not like about it? There's a couple of things that I really like. They're comfortable pens, they're pleasant to use, the materials are nice, whether you talk about this very flashy red, which I do think is a very nice material, or whether you talk about this somewhat more toned down but with very nice chatoyance, what was it, Aura Olive. The pens are nice, they're nicely made, eyedropper compatible. I'm sure. I haven't tried it because I really don't like eyedroppers, but barrel, ink, bit of silicone grease, I'm sure there's not going to be a problem. There's surely no metal parts in there. So well-made pens, solid. What has to be smooth is smooth. Step down from the barrel is not too big. It's a little sharp, but it's not too deep, not too steep. So I think it's very nice. Nice range of nib options, including double broads and stubs. Always fun. There are B.R.E nibs. They're unbranded B.R.E nibs, so they just have the B.R.E logo on them, not a Wet n Wise logo. But bear in mind, having those nibs rebranded, you typically need to buy, thousands of them. For a smaller company, that's not always possible. The writing experience with both pens was fantastic, was very nice, very pleasant, comfortable to hold, as well as the actual writing, the nib and feed worked very well. So I think that is really, really nice. What we do need to talk about a little bit is the pricing. So the pricing for these models, now bear in mind, remember what I said, they currently appear to come with an 18 karat or titanium number 8 B.R.E nib, not steel as is on these, and these are also number 6. And those nibs also have an ebonite feed, so that does bigger nib, ebonite feed, gold, etc. The price for those currently is between, depending a bit on some options, between 375 and 465 euros. That is by no means cheap. We are talking about acrylic pens. They do have a gold nib. but they are just acrylic pens. Now, I think that one thing you should remember when thinking about that price is that what Nabi is going for is a bespoke experience where, again, you can say, I want this a bit longer, that a bit wider, this, within reason, but that seems to be what he's going for. That customizability is a very nice option to have, I think, because it does allow you to create a pen that is truly unique to you. And as always, if you're talking about bespoke products, whether that is bespoke fountain pens or bespoke shoes or bespoke suits or anything along those lines, the price will go up, right? Because this is not a matter of someone has injection molding equipment, churns out 5,000 pens, and maybe that may be a bit much, but I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say, is churning out 5,000 pens a day that are exactly the same, etc. Here you have the option to look at materials, look at different shapes and sizes, and modify pens as you see fit. Having said that, you're still talking about expensive pens. Even at the lower range of that, 375 euros is 455 US. Yes, number 8 gold nib, which is very cool. Yes, customizability, which is very cool, but it's expensive. It's expensive, I think, for what it is. I'm not saying, because I always have this discussion with people, I'm not saying those pens are not worth it. What I am saying is, I think, relatively speaking, it's expensive. Bear in mind, this is a one-man operation, right? So you're looking at a company, one person, who is actually doing this kind of stuff. And that also means that this person doesn't have the capacity to create 100 pens a day, right? So all these things have to be factored into the price. What I'm trying to say here is, I'm not now trying to defend these prices, because at the end of the day, as always with a review, it's now up to you to decide whether you are willing to pay that for these pens or not. What I can say is they're solid pens. What I can also say is the price is not low, right? So you have to make up your mind. I want to thank Nabi for sending me the pens. It's very much appreciated. It was a pleasure to check out the pens. They were very pleasant writers, so I've had a lot of fun with these, and am having a lot of fun with these. And that's pretty much it. I hope this was useful, and I'm glad to see you later. Bye-bye.